Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Lundquist Real Estate Podcast. I'm John Lundquist, and I'm here with Trisha Strickler. Say hi, everybody.
Hey guys.
So, there's been a lot going on in real estate this summer, the last couple months. July has been extremely busy. Feels like we haven't been here in a minute, but we thought we'd come talk to you guys about what to do as summer winds down and some things that might help you get ready to either list your home or continue in your buying process going into fall after school has started for most people. Life starts getting busy again. So we were going to try to talk about a few of those things amongst, whatever else comes up. So, Tisha, what do you think? Has your July and August been pretty good for you?
July and August have been very busy. I will say in probably the last month, it slowed a little. There's still the inventory shortage that we've been fighting for a couple of years, obviously. So that is driving what's hitting the market because there's hardly anything on the market. But I've definitely noticed a little bit of people putting the brakes on in the last month.
Right.
Part of that I will chalk up to everybody has going back to school on the brain that month.
Yeah, I mean, years ago, people moved when they wanted to move, not when they had to move. A lot more than today. My dad used to talk about that for years. That was the way it was. I think that that's not so much the case anymore, but it still plays into people's decisions. I mean, you got the old election year slowdowns for all kinds of commerce and all kinds of sales. Doesn't matter if it's real estate, cars, you name it. I don't know if that really impacts as much as it used to, the old history of it all. But I think it still does play its part. Fall, people are going, I want to get moved before winter, or I want my house sold before the snow flies. They're always worried about the market slowing down when the weather gets nasty, and that does happen some. I think there's some key things to do if your house has been on the market through June and July and you haven't sold it yet. And I think there's some things to think about, or maybe a mindset shift a little bit for buyers when we get towards late summer, especially in our region where, winter's nasty. Yeah, it may not be the same when it's decent weather all the time, but I don't have any experience.
We have gotten pretty lucky with the winters the last couple of years.
One thing I would tell everybody is this, just because your kids are back in school or, sports have fired back up, your realtors are probably very flexible. If home buying is a priority, if getting out of the rental or finding something, with more space, whatever motivates you, your dream home, just pursuing the next step of your life that involves real estate, make time to do it. You can get a really good deal, just like any time. I mean, there's no reason to say, okay, well, let's just wait till spring, unless it's a personal financial kind of reason. The market doesn't change enough to justify that. We can tour a home in 30 minutes or less, Make time to continue to pursue your goals and your dreams, even when life gets busy. The market continues to move. We've got a long time before the snow flies. And honestly, I've had some of my best sales in the dead of winter, so don't let those old stereotypes slow you down or put your house hunting on pause. I've talked more about interest rates and commission laws in the last few weeks than I ever thought I would in my entire career. Again, I was just listening to a guy the other day, and he said never in his life has he made enough money for a president to dictate his annual income. I mean, unless you're working in a sector of government or something specific, whether you're one of the, employees that is affected by government shutdowns and things like that, the rest of this world still needs to buy and sell. People still need homes. They still need groceries. regardless of political affiliation and election years and who's making better decisions than their predecessor or what's going to happen in the future, everybody still needs a house. We're all getting older as we speak. Pursue your dreams, figure out how to make them happen. We might have to work a little extra hours or change the budget a little bit because of different economics involved, but you can still make it happen. Talk to your realtor, talk to your lender, and figure that out. Don't just put yourself and your life on pause because it's an election year, because winter's coming. You'll regret it. So, as far as getting things ready to go for fall, sellers, as the leaves start to change and stuff starts to happen, seasons are changing, make sure everything outside still looks really nice for your showings.
Absolutely.
Keep up on that landscaping and that yard work. As long as that sign's in the yard, right up till snow's flying. Start getting, we start getting closer to the season where everybody's heating their homes. Everybody was, wanting to know utility costs. Get those averages for your gas bills and things to your agent. Because that's going to be a question that's asked all the time.
I have asked more agents for utility averages in the last 3 weeks than I probably have the last 6 months.
If you don't have central air and you're running window air conditioning, get those window ACs pulled out, once it cools down. And, so nothing looks like it's just left that way all winter. First impressions on showings are a big deal. Just kind of, common sense things. You might start thinking about price reductions this late in the summer too, especially if you don't want to sit on it all winter. It's not always the case, but if it's been sitting on the market and it hasn't gotten a lot of attention, if there's any kind of indicator that you're a little overpriced, now's the time to make that adjustment to try to sell it before winter. You can't stall much longer holding out for that top dollar. And buyers know that. So the strategy does change a little bit. As far as the buying side, I guess my advice would be is just don't slow down on your house hunting, because of the seasons changing. Just keep at it. What do you think?
I think as far as what I'm seeing in trends of what's selling and what's sitting right now, the hottest market that we have currently in our area is that first-time home buyers market. Mm-hmm. If you have a home that falls into the price point of under $200,000, that house needs to be able to pass for government loans for your FHAs, your USDAs, your VAs, sure. And it's not going to sit very long. Mm-hmm. For the sellers in the higher price points, what you were just saying about getting that right price, it's extremely important right now. That is the hardest market. If it is above 250 to 280 right now, it's, in my opinion, the slowest market that we've got in this area.
I would agree. And I don't personally understand that, but that's exactly what we're seeing. Just kind of like what I started off this conversation with, that same kind of rant, I guess you call it. The 2.5% interest rates are gone.
And they're not coming back.
They're not coming back. Don't be waiting on them. They're not coming back. Honestly, we're lucky in some ways that we ever saw it. No one ever thought you'd ever see interest rates that way, and they're probably never coming back. And if that's out of the picture, if that's just completely off the table, again, are you going to postpone buying your dream home over 1% or 1.5% interest? Does it change that much? Does it truly change your goals that much over 1% interest? Because The interest rates in my adult life, in my career selling real estate, the interest rates have been in the 5 to 6% range more than anywhere else.
Absolutely.
So if that's what we call the old standard or the normal, does 1% change it to where you can't make it happen? Is it worth putting yourself on pause or just pursuing those goals and hoping to refinance sometime in the near future if things go back down? But I will say, I see the stall in the market, and those higher end homes, that different budget, that different consumer they are really reining in compared to the people that are the first time home buyers, or even if they're not a first time home buyer, somebody that's escaping the high rent.
Yes.
If they're escaping that $1,200 to $1,500 a month rent, they're buying them as fast as they can.
Yep.
So that is what we're dealing with. As far as all this commission stuff, the water's so muddy on that right now, but we're talking about it a lot.
We are talking about it a lot. I think my most asked question from my sellers when I'm trying to explain this, my return client sellers, can't we just do this the way that we used to do it? Yes, yeah. Theoretically we can. Well, we've got a couple more pieces of paper that we got to do.
So, okay, ask your questions. Buyers, sellers, ask your questions. We'll answer them the best we can. Bottom line is the law's changed, but a lot of times it takes a long time for the consumer to change, the mentality of what we're doing to change. And so right now it is negotiable in a different way.
Yes.
And it is negotiable between buyer and seller now, not brokerage to brokerage. However, there is a ton of buyers that need to just understand that to market their property to the largest amount of buyers, the sellers should still at least expect to negotiate that commission in. It's just the mentality of the sales world in homes. It's the way they bought their house last time. It's just the way it's always went. I think you narrow yourself quite a bit. But it's all going to change. It just happened. We're just getting used to it. It's gonna continue to develop, and we'll work with it. We'll stay within the boundaries of the laws. We'll try to do the best thing for our clients, but a straight answer, an exact answer right now is very hard to give.
Well, it's just like anything else in real estate. It's per transaction. We're never really seeing the same in every transaction across the board.
Now, the one thing I am going to say, and I hope it doesn't bite me, is everyone I know protects their career. They protect the industry that they work in, their future, and what's best for their career. Whether you're an automotive worker and you're protecting the union decisions are advocating for you, no matter what you do. If you love your career and you plan on spending a lifetime in it, you protect it. And I have had some conversations with clients lately that they're going, so I don't have to pay that. And they say it in a manner like, now I can finally get out of that. Like it's an advantage to them. The deal has to come together for the buyer and seller to both agree. Where they both feel this deal is fair is where we get it done. That has never changed. I don't feel like there's ever been a situation where one party took advantage of the other, and that's just the way real estate sales went. Maybe specifics on detail. I have specifics on different sales and different transactions. I think, wow, that guy got a good deal, or wow, that seller really got a good deal, or whatever. But it's always been wherever both sides of the transaction felt it was fair. That's not changing.
No.
And I personally feel like it's kind of dirty play to pull your realtor's income into how to achieve the fine tuning of exactly the money you want. If you're happy with their service, if you're happy with everything they've done, if you feel like they were an asset to getting this deal to the table, why all of a sudden is what you're paying them part of your negotiations?
Well,
Am I not worth the same percentage of commission just because you didn't get full list price?
And I think some of that even came into play before these rule changes ever happened.
Well, what I will say is I think that most consumers don't feel like doing that to their realtor. I think it's all coming to the table in those conversations based on how much we don't know yet. I think it's coming out that way because nobody knows for sure what it means, what it does, what their options are. And, every seller wants to make as much as they can. Every buyer wants to advocate to get the best deal they can. And the commission has always been negotiable.
Absolutely.
Always has been. It's just how it was negotiated was a little different. But it's always been negotiable. So I'm like, I keep getting these questions and I'm going, guys, it's not like I had a set fee before that was any less negotiable than it is today, and this is how we're going to market your home the best. This is our options. This is how we can do this. It's just on different paperwork, and buyer and seller are doing it within the offer. It's not happening between the brokers in the background, but it's always been negotiable.
Absolutely.
And some of them are, some of them just want as much information on the changes as they can get. Some of them are argumentative about it. And I'm going, I can't give you a better answer yet. I mean, I know how to do what we have to do to stay within the boundaries of the law, but no one's been doing this for more than a month except for your really experienced commercial brokers. And even then it was done differently because it was done largely between the brokerages. It wasn't done between the buyer and the seller.
Correct.
But at least they used the forms. So bear with us and don't think that one 5-minute Google search has all the answers.
We sat in a meeting yesterday and it was a manager broker meeting, and we have just as many questions as the consumer probably does right now.
Well, and these class action lawsuits are anything but over. They're going to continue to come. And it could change things again. I think the major lawsuit with NAR is pretty much over now, but there's going to be all kinds of stuff pop up in the coming months. With the MLS rule changes and the state changes, it's all happening as we speak. It's not behind us yet.
No. And
so, as things materialize, as things change, we will guide you in your best interests, just like we always have. But don't be afraid to ask questions, but don't be really upset if the answer sounds a little bit wishy-washy, because there's just a lot of this that is still kind of unfolding as we speak.
What we are being told and how they target and algorithm all of this, I have no idea. But what we are being told is if you are adamantly refusing to pay a buyer broker as a seller, you're painting yourself into a corner of only having 85% of the buyers that are out there. They're saying it will keep them from looking at your home.
Yeah, it shortens up how many buyers are interested in your home by, conservative numbers are over 75%.
Yes.
Some of that is because buyers can't afford to pay their broker. Some of that is because the way it's always been, they refuse to.
Yes.
The data I'm seeing is showing that if you still are willing to negotiate a buyer broker commission, usually the added interest in your property and some driven competition, hopefully, that it more than pays for itself.
Yes.
But there's a lot of unknowns here. You got to kind of bear with the whole thing. It does give you more options. It does give you more involvement in that negotiating. But as far as it changing anything for buyer, seller, or giving anybody an advantage over the other, I'm not seeing that really happen. And remember, your realtor, if you've picked your realtor correctly and you're happy with them, they should be working hard for you. They should be doing the best online marketing that they can for your listing. They should be answering questions and having conversations whenever you're available, even if it's in the evenings or whenever. It doesn't have to always be convenient. The work that they're doing for you should be compensated.
Absolutely. Nobody goes to work for free every day.
Now, where it gets compensated from, that can absolutely be figured out specifically between the buyer, the seller, and the deal that you have at hand. But nobody is going to provide that kind of service for free. Nobody wants to work for free. And don't do that to someone else just because you can. Appreciate their services, give them good reviews, pay them for what they've done for you. Now, if they haven't done anything for you and you're stuck in this contract and that's the bad situation that you found yourself in unfairly, take care of it however you think you need to. But if you're happy with them, pay them. I mean, nobody does any of these things for free. It's just not the way the world goes around.
One of my favorite clients, you saying that, I remember one of my favorite clients that has been a very loyal client to me. I sold his house in less than a week of it being on the market. It was a cash deal closing in a couple of weeks, and he laughed and he's like, easiest transaction in money you'll make all year. Maybe I overpaid you. And at that point, I looked at him and I said, could I have done my job any better?
Oh yeah, the ones that take forever and that we work our butts off are typically the ones that end up actually making us the least. But it's just how it goes, That's part of commission only sales right there. But yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, would he have been happier about paying you full price if it took you 6 months and you had 10 deals fall apart midstream and all these problems?
Well, and as soon as I looked at him and was like, could I have done my job any better?
Right.
He's like, no.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
And so, but just, do your diligence, ask your realtors questions. It is changing, but it's not changing as much as you think. Not at the end of the day. The paperwork's changing. The conversations are changing. But the expectations of the consumer and what makes your home the most marketable has not changed a lot yet in these small rural areas.
And what your agent is doing for that commission check on the property isn't changing at all.
And what that buyer's agent did to get that offer to you isn't changing. Their part of that's not changing.
Exactly. Your buyer brokers, your listing agents, they're still doing the exact same amount of work and the exact same job for you that they've always done.
Well, and I'll say
it's just some extra paperwork.
And I'll say this a little bit. Everybody says, wow, that commission's high. How much is the commission to sell my home? Holy cow, I didn't expect it to be that much. But the one thing that has not changed in price in my entire adult career, no matter what groceries cost, no matter what gas costs, look at how much a new vehicle has went up in 20 years. Any new vehicle, I don't care which one you like, how much it cost 20 years ago to today. How much homes values have went up, how much utility costs have went up. The list goes on and on and on. And the one thing that is the exact same percentage that it was when I was a teenager is your realtor's commission.
It has not changed.
It is not a set fee. It is always negotiable. But the kind of regional standard, what you see the most, has not went up along with everything else. My gas has, my materials have. Everything in that office has went up in cost. But I'm still charging you the same. So, take those things into consideration. It costs me just as much to feed my family as it does You do. Everybody just wants to see their way through this fairly. If they don't say that, then they're not doing what they should be doing for you. You know, we just want to see our way through this fairly, get it done right, efficiently, best for our clients, and keep up with the changes so we're staying within the boundaries of the new laws and regulations. But it's kind of uncharted territory right now. We're figuring it out as we go. As far as, you know, anything else that's been changing, I guess there's some other form changes and some other things, but not really anything that really changes the game for the buyer or the seller. That's the big one. That's the big topic, you know, but all the other little stuff that's happening, it changes our day a little bit, but it doesn't really change anything else. But it has been a lot in a very short period of time. And I think everybody's playing catch up. We didn't have time to react ahead of time or go to a bunch of training classes and figure it all out. We're just kind of learning it one email and one transaction at a time. So, you know, bear with all your realtors. It's you know, things are changing. But what do you think happens, you know, as far as all these changes and all these expectations that are, well, I guess maybe not expectations, but the buzz around all these changes, you know, whether it's good information or just partial information, you know, how do you think that changes, not only home value, but do you think that any of these changes are going to drive prices in any direction? Do you think that it's going to change, you know, these options and these changes are going to do anything to the actual market conditions, or do you just think it stays within the boundaries of the negotiations?
I think it stays within the boundaries of the negotiations, honestly. I personally don't feel like our commission pricing was revolving around our commission in any way, shape, or form. I wasn't pricing somebody's house higher, so my commission was XYZ on that home, I guess. So I don't really see the commission changes changing home values. I mean, the conditions of the market is what's going to drive that at this point.
I mean, I've told people before that listing with a realtor versus trying to sell on your own, most of the time, you know, the realtor's added exposure and, you know, all the things that we do to list your property online and expose it to the most people in the largest area would typically gain you enough money on the sale price to cover the commission versus trying to sell it by yourself. That doesn't happen every time, but in most markets around here, I've been able to prove that to be true on numerous occasions.
Well, and it's incredibly rare. I'm not going to say it never happens, but it's incredibly rare for your average homeowner to correctly price and competitively price their home in the market.
My point with that is even though I've said that to listing clients on numerous occasions, it didn't mean that I was building my commission into the sale price. The house is worth what it's worth.
Yep.
The competition and the proper marketing is going to get you top dollar, which covers a lot of my commission.
Correct.
It wasn't that somehow we were magically going to make it worth X amount of dollars more.
Right.
To build the commission in. You know what I mean? It was always a fee. It was always an expense.
Right.
But the tools in our toolbox, I guess, helped us get you top dollar, which helped ease the pain of that expense. You know, so it didn't change what the house was worth.
No.
So, but as much as I'm getting hit with questions all the time, and a lot of them are questions that I don't have an exact answer for. But, you know, to my personal clients, I'll explain it the best I can. And while this unfolds, I think I speak for all of us realtors when I say, you know, we're still going to do everything we can to advocate for your best interest. And the rest of it, it's just going to take a little time.
Yep.
So I think, unless you've got something, I think that's a good place to stop for this one. And we'll probably see you in a couple weeks. Thanks for tuning in.